Get a clear picture of our true history, you have to completely do away with the official narrative. Electricity has been commonly used throughout the ages. Our oldest structures, the pyramids, were electric generators. They transmitted energy to ornate obelisks of perfect symmetry and other receiving devices. From there, the energy was used to power mechanisms of all sorts, including apparatuses that are not a part of our present lives. It powered amazing edifices such as telepathy, healing and mood elevation, and maybe even time travel were practiced by the ancients. The energy was free, abundant, and did not harm the environment. The Tartarian Empire with its many provinces rose up. It was a benevolent society, more advanced, ethical and holistic than ours. Star forts were built, which are not forts at all but huge star-shaped circuitry areas. There are hundreds of these throughout the world in at least 35 countries. They radiated power from the Earth's internal energy grid. The Statue of Liberty is placed on an old star fort. The statue originally radiated light from its torch. It is native to America, and to fit the official narrative, the torch was extinguished and a story was made up that the statue was built in France as a gift. Russia was the center of the imperial Tartarian world, with the Kremlin in Moscow as its center. The books of Nehemiah and Ezra in the Old Testament is supposed to describe the dimensions of the Temple of Solomon. But it doesn't. What it does describe exactly is the dimension, walls, gates, towers, and the areas of the Kremlin. Much of the Old Testament and its literature was actually stolen from Tartaria and modified to create a fictional account of the history of Israel. This was done to sell their religion, which placed the converters in positions of power within other countries. The steps of the temple in Jerusalem are huge. Intermediate steps have been placed so that the average person can walk up the stairs. The temple was originally built for giants. Along with the huge steps, the doorway is enormous. Electrical energy was common throughout the Tartarian Empire. Obelisks not as elaborate as the former ones were erected. Other energy receivers located on top of temples are called stupas. They are usually round-shaped but can also be intricately carved statues like the ones at Borobudur in Indonesia. These temples have many elaborate and detailed carvings which are beyond anything that can be done today. They range from symbolic renderings of the planetary gods to humans engaging in sex in all sorts of positions. The vibrant energy in these places, I'm sure, catapulted one's sex life. Temples, cathedrals and mosques were places of energy production. They had nothing to do with religion. Pictures from the middle 1800s show the digging out of this mud flood in partially buried communities. Even today one can see buildings with the lower floor and its windows beneath ground level. Some of the recently dug out former streets which are underground are now tourist attractions. The Paris catacombs are the remains of people killed in the early 1800s by energy weapons. Cities across America have a date of conflagration and destruction where most of the old buildings were destroyed. The new controllers want the memory of the old culture removed. Look more closely at the old buildings in your town. Evidence of Tartarian work abounds. Are there old stone buildings with perfect symmetry and remarkable detail? That may have been converted to a city hall? Engineering marvels with marble pillars that are now federal buildings. Elaborate and lavishly ornamented buildings in big cities that now have the name of some corporation. What happened was the Freemasons came and took control of the Freemasonry. Are there statues or towers that seem out of place and are too skilled in craftsmanship for the early pioneers? Old mansions with elegant, efficient and highly elaborate energy radiators that are mistaken for fireplaces? Are the support pillars of old bridges arc-shaped, consisting of big stone blocks? You can also see remnants of the old culture from large carved stones that are just lying around. And if they're tall and smooth on each side, maybe they were once obelisks. Do you ever wonder how towns and cities could spring up so fast in the late 1800s when America was supposed to be still in Wild West mode? The truth is the cities were already built. Only in the later 1800s did most of these vacant cities get repopulated. But some areas like the Bronx in New York remain empty, and the excuse was urban decay. Who's the richest and most influential people in your town? Chances are they had ancestors who were given vast tracts of land because of their connections to the new controllers. Nepotism is the rule and favoritism is being played out. The word nepotism is derived from nephew, which originally meant the illegitimate sons of the Pope whom had privileges and offices conferred upon them. Presidents are selected, not elected, and are all related to each other. Some of the big cities had expositions soon after their conflagration. Cathedrals equipped with organs reverberated acoustical sounds and transmitted the energy. Towers of all sorts were built as receiving stations. Some remain, such as the ones in Nepal. Towers such as Big Ben in London were originally energy transmitters also. Buildings were equipped with aerial antennae. Globes were placed under the antennae to amplify the energy. Magic wands were a common thing. These scepters were energy conductors and so in a sense could cast spells. Armor and gauntlets for battle were metallic conductors to reflect the static electricity from energy weapons. Metallic headdresses and projectiles were worn to pick up vibrant aerial energy. Because of the coveting of power and possessions, energy devices became energy weapons. The struggle for power intensified. Wars broke out. The so-called Ark of the Covenant was the original energy weapon. It was converted from its initial purpose as a power generator in the main pyramid at Giza. The dimensions of the Ark fit perfectly with the empty rose granite box inside the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. During the medieval ages there was extensive carnage. The Inquisition was just a part of the new controllers exerting their power. The Mayflower was a warship. The pictures of old ships show that their masts were energy-gathering rods, so they were electrically powered. The Titanic was one of these, and it was built much earlier than the official date. It was refitted with smokestacks to look like a steamship. It never sank but emerged soon after as its sister ship, the Olympic. The Nazca lines in Peru are huge drawings that were meant to be seen from the air. There are sketches and pictographs of many cities with an aerial perspective. Flying vessels were a reality centuries before the Wright brothers. The Hindenburg was one in a long line of airships. It was intentionally destroyed by filling it with flammable gas to promote the idea that they are unsafe. There are two famous pictures from the 1800s of airships. One over Paris and one over San Francisco. These Zeppelin-like aircraft were also used for destruction. From above, energy weapons were unleashed to incinerate cities and eradicate the citizens. During the time period between 1811 and 1819, great disasters such as the New Madrid earthquake and the Tambora volcano fell upon the world. Temperatures plummeted. People had to flee the north because of the extreme cold. Energy weapons took out whole cities. They also destroyed pyramids.